What is going on, Guff Gang? My name is Zach, and I know what you all are thinking. I thought Zach was not going to record ever again after that Tom Brady video, but you are dead wrong. I am here, and I'm going to give you today some tips on what to look for in the 2021 fantasy football season. Before we get into today's topic, though, how about hitting that subscribe button down below if you're new and you enjoy this kind of content? We are putting out fantasy football content all throughout this offseason to keep you up to date, so that way you can win your leagues next year and brag to all of your friends. Okay, without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. So we're going to call this one things to look out for in the 2021 fantasy season, but really most notably, these are mistakes not to make within 2021, okay? So be thinking ahead and try and be ahead of your fantasy leagues. So number one on our list, do not reach at the QB position. So we see tremendous QB play each year from some new QBs that maybe we did expect or we didn't expect. We saw great play from Justin Herbert in 2020. He was a fantastic waiver wire pickup in most leagues and did really well for you and was a serviceable QB1. We also saw the same type play from Josh Allen. He was electric and really had game-winning weeks for you all throughout the season. And then same with Kyler Murray. Majority of the season up until the last about 5 weeks, he was just league winning and really got a lot of people into the playoffs just who had him. Now, unfortunately, I don't think the case is to draft these QBs early. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to want to reach for these QBs earlier on in drafts, but we saw in the 2020 season, someone like Lamar Jackson, for instance. So he had a great 2019 season, I believe finishes the QB1. So the next season, some people might have turned around and drafted him in the second round. Well, in 2020, he produced QB8 numbers, and honestly, that's kind of padded by some of his bigger games because majority of the season, he was getting you under 20 fantasy points. So with all that being said, a lot of people did spend first round or second round draft capital on Lamar Jackson just to get the QB8. What I'm saying is to wait, not to reach at QB. Let someone else do that because you can get the QB8 probably in the mid rounds, and then you could probably even get someone who's within the top 5 QBs within the mid rounds or later rounds as well. Josh Allen was not taken in the first couple of rounds last season, and you saw how good he did. Justin Herbert was a waiver wire pickup. You saw how good he did. Wait on QB. You can get a very, very good QB in the middle rounds, and then you could also probably get one in the later rounds, and then even just try and take a flyer or get a waiver wire pickup. So moving on to our number 2 is rookie picks. Now, I am all for people like Justin Jefferson, T. Higgins, but with rookie picks, if it's a wide receiver, it's actually been known and kind of shown to us that wide receivers take a little bit more time to acclimate, which this past 2020 season was a little weirder. So we didn't have a structured off season like we usually do. Coronavirus took a toll, so we didn't have a preseason. So you would think if wide receivers that are rookies in the NFL take a little bit longer to get acclimated, then they would have done even worse last season. We kind of saw the flip side of that actually. Players like Justin Jefferson, T. Higgins, and a couple others actually really made an emergence and did really well during the season. I think a lot of this was in part due to just their opportunity share. Not all of them are given such a big opportunity share to start off. There are very talented receivers, but even then, just because they don't get the opportunity and they have to have some time to acclimate to the NFL, they really don't start off doing well until maybe midway towards the end of their first season, and then most notably into their second season. Justin Jefferson and T. Higgins and a few others might have actually been the exception as opposed to the rule. So with that being said, be careful on where you're drafting rookie wide receivers next season. I would much rather try and pick someone off the waiver wire as opposed to spending draft capital on a rookie receiver that I'm just hoping is going to do well. Someone like Henry Ruggs, for instance. I know he was drafted in a lot of leagues, and he really didn't do anything for you last season. On the flip side of that, Justin Jefferson could have been picked up off the waiver wire, and he was a great wide receiver too for you. Moving on to our number 3 on the list, don't try and jump on a certain position. So let me tell you all a story. So there was once this boy in 2020 who, a grown-up, if you will, who actually was very keen on the running back position, and rightfully so. Last season, we had a bunch of great running backs, so there were so many good ones to choose from. I'm just gonna burst your bubble here. That guy was me. I really was keen on the running back position, and I ended up locking my myself into taking Le'Veon Bell in the 4th round and trying to use him as a flex option, and it did not work out. So because I got locked in at the position, I basically sacrificed a person on my roster because I wanted someone at running back and wanted to fill my team with good running backs. Because of this, I sacrificed someone that I could have gotten like Allen Robinson to pair with a wide receiver. So I would say, and this is kind of a across the board really, and a mistake not to make, is to just be fluid through the draft. Be fluid through the season, okay? If there's a certain player that you see that's not necessarily cutting it for you, or you can kind of see the writing on the wall, try and dish them out and trade them early. But definitely stay fluid in your drafts, because it is going to bite you in the tail if you key in on a position or you key in on certain players and there is much better value at your turn in the draft and you choose not to take them, okay? Next on our list is breakout players, okay? So breakout players are players like on this thumbnail, Jonathan Taylor. So Jonathan Taylor, for instance, we actually all thought that he was going to break out this past season, and he did. It just took a long time for it to happen. Marlon Mack actually went down after week 1, suffering a season-ending injury, and we all knew Jonathan Taylor is going to be the top running back in the league. However, and unfortunately, it really took a long time for this to happen. So I am here to tell you, you can cement your trust in breakout players again in 2021 if we do have the kind of off season we're used to seeing. I believe a big factor in the 2020 season to why these players like Jonathan Taylor took a little bit longer to break out was in large part due to the coronavirus type off-season and preseason lack of that we didn't have. And so because of that, someone like Jonathan Taylor, who is phenomenal and explosive and athletic, who really did need the keys to that backfield, took a little bit longer to adjust the NFL and to the Colts offense. So even though he was thrust into the opportunity, he kind of hit the doghouse and had some mistakes that ultimately didn't allow him to actually see a wide and big opportunity share until the later half of the season. So I would say trust your breakout players still. If there is someone you are eyeing down that you think is going to break out because the opportunity and the skill set is there, definitely trust that and don't let this season kind of give you that sour taste, okay? Jonathan Taylor also, I think, is going to be just phenomenal. So any of those breakout players, I would trust again, unless they're a rookie receiver. Last on our list for mistakes not to make is do not let recency bias get you, okay? So this past season, a lot of things happen. A lot of people sometimes will either see what happens towards the end of this season, and then some people will also just kind of tune out by the end of the season and not actually pay attention because they're not even in playoff contention. So don't let recency bias affect you in 2021. Yes, there are trends we need to watch out for. Yes, there are valuable players and people that we need to be looking into and looking into the analytics of if they'll do well this 2021 season. But some players really just broke out towards the end of last season, and they're not going to do much this next season because of things that happened in the offseason, acquisitions that are made by different teams, or just different things that happen. So I would say just don't fall into the recency bias. It's a deep dark hole that you can fall into, and it's sometimes hard to get out of, okay? And because of that, you might fall into some of the other mistakes, like keying in on a position or going for someone who necessarily you shouldn't go for because the opportunity is not there. The talent might be, but the opportunity really isn't. Likewise, if you did tune out towards the end of last season, tune back in this off season, okay? There's a lot of things that happen between weeks 14 through 17 and maybe even weeks 15 through 17 and then in the playoffs. So I know a lot of us try and keep track as long as possible, but sometimes you kind of do have that sour taste in your mouth when you don't make the fantasy championship. I would try and get as active in the fantasy world as possible, starting right now even, so that way you can win your 2021 seasons, because it does start right now. It does not start at the draft. It starts right now with the stuff you're putting in your head, with the news, with the updates, with your subscribe to our channel. It starts right now, okay? Those are my top mistakes and top things to look out for the 2021 season. I know it's a little different, but I had to take a little break from the analysis and the just hard-hitting stuff after that Tom Brady video. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and if you enjoy seeing content like this. Like I said, we're going to be posting all throughout the off season. We post 3 videos a week right now, but once the season gets a little bit closer, we'll be ramping that up. Definitely stay in tune with the fantasy world and start right now researching for next season. All right. Thank you so much. Go grow up and get guffed.